my credit when it goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, hey everyone. We are so excited to bring you Enduránce, the official Endurance Rewatch podcast hosted by Jordan
and Ben.
Okay, why are we here today? Ben and I are really involved in the Endurance Lost Media rewatching community. Endurance, as many of you may know, was a TV show that aired between 2002 and 2008 on Discovery Kids and NBC affiliates across the country. It was identical to the level of drama, gameplay, seriousness, relationships, social, strategic, physical gameplay that you saw from other TV shows of the same era. It was the rise of Survivor and Big Brother and equivalent shows. And as Ben and I have discussed, what kind of caused us to want to do this podcast was that Endurance is impacting us to this day.
I mean, seriously, you think about reality television, this was the pioneer days. Like, we were just learning about this. We're post 9/11, sorry to bring that up right out the gate, but, like, that's where we were. Survivor had just, I think we're in season 2, maybe.
2 or 3.
Big Brother we're in season 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Apprentice has just started. That's topical. But anyway, we're in the early days, and then we've got this show that comes out of kind of nowhere, but featuring kids in reality competition, which I think is, like, quite unique.
This is also the era of, like, throw anything against the wall on a TV show and just see what sticks. Versus now it's so, like, you can say that there's, like, a million versions of the same show today. Like, there's 50 dating shows on Netflix. But back in the day, it was like, here's every possible breadth of idea, not just, like, the same idea in different ways.
Right.
And that's really special about the time of 2002 to 2008.
So, Jordan, I know we're going to talk a lot about this throughout this podcast. It's not just today, but, like, why are we doing this? Why are we? Yeah. What is this podcast?
So I'm a big believer in finding lost media and making sure it doesn't die. And how I define lost media for myself as someone born in the mid-90s is stuff I remember from the years like 1998 to like 2006 that I was old enough to watch but not old enough to retain. And I was an only child, so I didn't have like older sibling influence and or younger sibling like pass forward stuff. So it was really just like, what does my TV shove in my face and what are my memories? And I put early Endurance in the categories of, I have a memory of watching this, but I don't know what happened. Obviously, by like seasons 5 and 6, I was like old enough to retain what was going on and was very aware and like was involved in the online community and all that. But in the early seasons, it's like, okay, what is this? And then what Ben and I were talking about is so much of old TV has now been put on streaming, even reality shows, even like all the Real World seasons from the 90s, you can just watch on Paramount Plus, but stuff like Endurance is still not there. So we want to find a way to preserve it.
Right.
I mean, you know what triggered me to start this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so as we all know, Glen Powell is on season 2 of Endurance. We're not there yet. We're focused on season 1. Right. Glen Powell is now an approaching A-list actor. Some would say A-list, depending on how you think. And obviously, I love Sydney Sweeney. Sydney Sweeney was his co-star in that rom-com.
Yeah, Anything But You?
Anyone But You.
That's it.
And obviously Glen Powell was on Endurance. And obviously I was like, Glen Powell was on Endurance. Like, I kept screaming that. I mean, this started when he was in Hidden Figures, which was almost a decade ago. I said, that's Glen Powell from Endurance in Hidden Figures, and no one knew what I was talking about. And to this day, I'm like trying to scream that. And Jimmy Kimmel, one of them brought it up to Glenn, and he was like, not about it. Anyway, this all came to a head when Sydney Sweeney and Glen Powell dating rumors restarted in the last month. Sydney Sweeney broke up with her fiance, whatever. But this all started because Sydney Sweeney went to Glen Powell's sister's wedding and was photographed with Leslie Powell. Now, why is Leslie Powell significant?
Why, Jordan?
Because she was also on Endurance. She was on the final season of Endurance. She was much more successful than her brother. But
spoilers. We'll get to it.
But the fact that there are, like, Glen Powell is so famous, and that Endurance is still relevant in the Hollywood ecosystem to this day, and the fact that Sydney Sweeney was with an Endurance contestant at Glen Powell's wedding, and all of it just makes it so relevant to our narratives.
Yeah.
Why did I get back into Endurance when I was older? I was watching TV in the summer of 2013. I was like very into like Big Brother at the time, and I saw a show called The Challenge, and it was Rivals 2, which everyone knows is one of the top 5, if not the top 3 best seasons.
We're talking MTV's The Challenge, in case you're wondering.
And there was someone on it called John A. And I said, oh, yeah, I know who that is. That's John A. from Endurance. And at this point, I like rewatched enough seasons. Like I was still like very aware, but just was like a oh my God, people from Endurance didn't just leave in 2002. They are still here.
Yeah. It's interesting you bring all this up, sort of like how these people have sort of stayed within reality television. I actually knew of this show. I'm a little bit older. I'm an elder millennial. I was watching this show my sophomore year of college. I know it sounds like a little geeked. I know. These are kids doing reality competition, but I ate all media at the time, and I still do. So I was watching Survivor. This was like the biggest show on television, and to see something that's basically the same thing that I could watch on a Saturday morning was kind of fun, and so I wanted to check it out. But I recognized the host. When I saw it was JD Roth, I was like, wait, I know JD Roth.
From where?
From Funhouse. Funhouse was a reality competition show. It was like, a studio show from the late 80s, early 90s, where JD Roth, I think he was like 19 when he first started hosting the show. But it was like one of these things where it's like a boy-girl team versus another boy-girl team. Who probably met on a studio tour, and then they're having to compete against each other. So, like, I knew of him from then, and was like, wow, he's hosting this basically Survivor for teens.
I love that. Yeah. And he also was a host of Unanimous, which was only on for one season.
Yeah, I totally missed that one. But yeah, so, I mean, I think we've given a little background about, like, where we were in this time.
Sure. And, sorry, like, before I forget, they're not the only people who have made careers out of Endurance. Yeah. Like, didn't you go to school with Scooter or something like that?
So he graduated a little after.
We're talking about Scooter Magruder,
who was like
from Endurance 2.
An early YouTube star. He was on Endurance. Yeah. Went on to have like a big career in social media, and was like a star at the University of Florida. Like people still know of him. So
and Jonathan Young was on Survivor 42, and this is my favorite fun fact.
Sure.
The Marianne Oketch from the winner of Survivor 42, which is not a spoiler. The Marianne Oketch to Sydney Sweeney separation is pretty much zero. Yeah. Because Jonathan Young played on Endurance with Leslie. Leslie is Glenn's brother. Sorry, I skipped a step. Marianne played on Survivor with Jonathan. Jonathan played on Endurance with Leslie. Yeah. Leslie is Glenn's brother. Glenn obviously knows Sydney. So look at that. Marianne, if you're listening, we support you, and we just want you to know that you are like very closely in the timeline.
You're part of the Endurance lore.
You are part of the Endurance lore. And here's like what I scream into the void about all this, and this is why I want to get this podcast out there and why I've been so set. I heard a podcast about the challenge for like the last decade if I wanted to, but instead I was just really holding out for the right time to do this Endurance podcast because it's so relevant. Like when Jonathan was on Survivor, I was like screaming to the world about it, and everyone was like, okay. I was like, you don't get it. And then obviously like Jonna, we will get to this. Her showing on the original challenge franchises was not reflective of the Jonna we knew from Endurance.
Right.
Like I joined at Rivals. I mean, her best season was arguably her first one, which was Rivals 1. I joined at Rivals 2. At that point, she was like already kind of just like she was just so like not confident in herself, and she'll admit that. And she was really good on Rivals 1. Almost made the final. Like almost made the final in Battle of the Seasons. She lost in Not So Fast in Namibia to Frank Sweeney, who is now doing his thing. If they never played that Not So Fast or never lost, like they would have made a final then with Derek Chavez. Then Rivals 2, like middle of the season elimination with Nani. Free Agents, same thing. And then X's 2, was this.
Well, we're seeing the birth of a reality star, somebody who grew up on TV.
X's 2 for Jonna was just so. That was when she was a sad.
Yeah. Okay.
And then wait. So then, sorry, and this is the last we'll talk about this for now. To see Jonna go from Endurance, where like we'll get into the dominant, confident, strategic, social, physical game that she played, to then that on the challenge was just so like middling, to then coming back on All Stars and being the most dominant All Stars female in the entire All Stars franchise. So, and she was a proud member of Era 3, which like she would not have been able to be on Era 3 if it wasn't for Endurance.
So it all comes back to Endurance. If she wasn't
on Endurance, then Jenna Campano would have been on that Era 3 spot.
Okay, well, we learned a lot about Jordan's wealth of knowledge when it comes to reality TV. But here's what we're going to do. Because not everyone has seen Endurance. I think probably if you're checking this out, you probably have.
Hopefully.
Where are you watching this? Okay. If you're going to be following along with us throughout this journey. Because it does not...
The computer just did it. Okay.
We'll edit that out.
Okay.
But, like, where are we watching this? I know we talked about Lost Media. This is not on a streaming service. Like, if I'm going to be following along and taking this in with Jordan and Ben.
So, Brandon Donlin, if you're listening, I approached Brandon Donlin from Survivor 45 about starting this, and he said, well, we can't because it's not on streaming. I said, well, it just is. Just look a little harder. So it's on YouTube, but don't what I don't want to have happen is this gets a lot of buzz and they get taken down because I think it's still under copyright. Like, that's why it hasn't been around. So
like, find it on your own. Maybe it's on YouTube, but
it's organized.
Ish.
There's some that are mislabeled, just like go with the flow. And if you are clearly not on the next episode, like, just abort.
That being said, we're going to do a really good job of covering all these things. So this will all trigger memories for you, memories that you didn't know you still had. But let's talk about this show as itself. Like, what is the structure? How is this show organized? Like, how are we coming into this? You know, we've got an opening scene that is
it's epic. It's literally, so it is Survivor. And the way I would describe Endurance to people when I was growing up, I was obsessed with it. I had an Endurance-themed birthday party. The way I would describe it is like, it's Survivor. Also, we'll get to this. I hosted, but Ben participated in multiple Endurance seasons here in Washington, D.C., during COVID.
Yeah, you can Endurance at home.
Yeah. Anyway, everyone wanted to be Survivor. Survivor was the show. And what's the first scene of the first episode of Survivor?
Right, we're coming in on a boat.
In Borneo. And they're doing the same thing in Catalina, off the coast of California, and it's freezing. Yeah. Like, you could tell it's freezing, and they filmed this in, like, July, August, like in between. Like,
but we're off the coast of California. It is going to be cold.
It's going to be cold, and, like, So they're on the, like, catamaran, which was a word I didn't know. I'm from Long Island. There's so much, like, California-isms in this show, and just, like, West Coast-isms, like, even just, like, there's not really people from New York on this cast. No. There are in future seasons, but it's, like, this is a very, like, Midwest, mountain, a lot of Californians. We'll get to a lot of Montanans, a lot of people from Chicago. Like, clearly, their casting pool was very specific.
Yeah.
Okay, we can go over the structure of the show, and then I want to ask after that, just so you can prepare, like, how did these people get on the show?
Yeah.
Where did they come from? Okay. So the structure of the show, there's 20 kids, ages 12 to 15. This had one 16-year-old famously, but generally 12 to 15. Who are stranded, living on an island, or in the mountains, or in a jungle, or whatever. And there's 10 guys and 10 girls, and they are eliminated through different means, whether it's through an individual challenge at the start, and then they get into teams, and they're eliminated as partners throughout the season. We'll get into this as well, but there are different challenges where some of them you win an ability to disadvantage another team, and you also win a piece. And then there are other challenges where you have the right to send 2 teams to the temple where one team will be eliminated. Essentially, the head of household.
Yep.
And whoever collects all the pieces first wins. And we'll get into what the finale looks like and how that kind of just shuffles all the pieces around. But Ben, we have this group of 12 to 15-year-olds from all over the country, but specifically from Southern California, Montana, and Chicago.
Yeah, there's a handful of Texas people, too.
And Texas.
Yeah.
How did they get here?
Great question. It seems as though, like, many of them are, like, already kind of in the business or trying to be in the business. Like, you can tell from their personalities. Mm-hmm. These people this is not the first time they've been in front of a camera. Mm-hmm. Maybe professionally, sure. But, like, we're working with, like, potential child actors, potential child models. Like, they're trying to be on television. They're not just random people from the streets.
Correct. And it's so, like, because it's the first season of this show, like, they had to seek it out or had to, like, they had to be, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, they either had an agent or a parent or someone or a connection, like, to be like, you're doing this thing. I'm sure they had some open casting back in the day,
right?
But as we will see with later seasons where they get actually into the casting process, you know, the famous casting special from Endurance 3, there in future seasons is such a, like, known aura about the show that, like, kids are so excited to be a part of it, and that's kind of how casting goes. But yeah, I think that a lot of it was just people who were recruited in a way for the show. Something I want to go over, the theme song. Like, what are your thoughts on it in general?
I mean, this is the thing. Like, I think Survivor probably has mastered this more than most. Big Brother, I think, also.
Yeah.
But, like, music is really important in these shows. It really does set the stage. And, like, we have some epic music. I would say, like, we've been talking about this. The production value on this show is very high, especially for something it's season 1.
Yep.
They've never done it, and we're working with children.
Yep.
I mean, maybe there's, like, TiVo at the time, maybe some kind of DVR, but, like, this is early times.
Yeah.
There's no streaming service. There's no promise that this is going to be reruns anywhere.
Sure.
So, like, the fact that they put this kind of money into this type of a program without knowing the returns on it is, like, pretty significant. And it shows from the music to even the set. The challenges seem pretty high dollar for, like, something out the gate. Like, it is kind of crazy to me.
I totally agree. And I am a big believer in theme songs setting the tone for shows, and that it has been it's been lost in the 2020s. Like, even Survivor only brought back theme songs when they got 90-minute episodes, which, like, if you remember early Survivor, like, the theme songs were such a major part of it, and they would change the tone based on where they were, and they would re-record it for, like, Africa and for Australia and for Thailand. And I remember that so vividly as, like, something that made me, like, excited. Like, you're like, even, we're going to bring it up again, Celebrity Apprentice had such a good theme song. Like, we know that song forever because of that show. And Endurance is just one of those, also, I put in the same category of theme song where it's like, oh my god, it's happening. Like, that's how I describe it. And something I love about the theme song, too, is it's almost like a mini trailer for the season. Like, especially in the first episode, like, you know who is basically on what team if you're paying close enough attention, and you see the future challenges. And what I'm thinking of specifically is, it's the final 3, no spoilers, the final 3 jump rope challenge from this season, and they show it in the theme song, and I always remember being like, oh, when's that going to happen? Like, this look... And
they don't have any footage to go to, and, like, they're just figuring this out. I mean, this is pioneer times. I mean, we talked about this with the kids. They don't know what the challenges are going to be. You know, with a lot of these reality shows, they oftentimes are using the same challenges over and over again with just new contestants. And they don't have that opportunity. They don't know what the structure of the show is going to be. They don't even know how they're going to partner up. They don't understand any of this. And we'll see it. We're going to get into the first elimination process. Okay. Because now we've got 20 people that have arrived on this boat.
And JD gives them a tour of Catalina. Something I don't want to forget. JD loves this. Like, he is so... Like, I don't want to commend him for that. Like, I have it in my notes. I think of JD on Endurance, how Jeff Probst is approaching Survivor in the 40s. Yep. Where he, like,
and we're talking about not the 1940s, but, like, season 40s.
Season 40s and beyond. Jeff, like, you have... But from the, like... Think about from, like, the early 30s to present in Survivor, how Jeff has gone from, like, I am a host to, like, I love this show. I love this game so much. I mean, I think Jeff is totally cringe, and I could complain about him for the rest of this episode. And I complain about him whenever I get a chance. But it's so clear that JD loves this show so much, and he's so happy to be here, and he's so, like, invested in this experience. And I think that's because he's had so many experiences before this. No spoilers. We're going to talk about Karma at some point, probably in, like, a bonus episode or something.
Yeah, if you're unfamiliar, like, at the outset of COVID, Endurance comes back to life in a new form.
Produced by JD.
And so it, like, that also kind of spurred me to rewatch some of these.
Oh my gosh.
I was so excited to see this come back.
Anyway, we'll
get back to it. But, I mean, JD...
Speaking of lost media, that is something I have a memory of. I watched it the day it dropped.
Right.
And I was very engrossed in the online discourse, and I was very, like, up on that game.
Well, it's like the Endurance community came together that, like, where were all of us? We were so separated.
And now it's lost media.
And that's only from a few years ago.
I still follow some of them on Instagram. That's so embarrassing.
Well, I do think it's interesting. So JD is now welcoming these kids to the beach, and he shows these 2 houses that they're going to be staying in, and he, like, reveals to them there's 20 of them on this beach, but only 14 are going to stick around. So like, he promised that we could get you to this place, but he did not promise he'd let you stay.
I think that's brutal. And to this day, I was too young for Endurance. That's always my age to ever play. But I always thought I would play. And I always thought I'd be on Endurance 8, I think, was the one I was, like, planning for, or 9 maybe. Anyway. But I had a legitimate fear that I would lose the right to stay.
Yeah.
And watching it again, this is my first time rewatching Endurance 1 in a while, and it kind of brought back those same feelings of, like, I think I would lose that. I was a very small 13-year-old.
Computer.
I was a very small 13-year-old, and most of the right to stay challenges require like upper body strain.
These are brutal challenges. I mean, it's not something
to,
that like
come for glenpowell right now. But
I know. Well, we'll get to that, but I mean, I'll say like so we get to the beach, and he's showing what they're gonna have to do, and what is this one called?
It's called Timeline. And something I'd like to note about early endurance as well is that there must have been, correct me if I'm wrong, some like educational requirement.
Yeah.
And JD loves like dropping in little like educational.
Well, because this is being shown as part of the block of like
it's Discovery Kids,
so
or it's also shown at certain points in like NBC Saturday Morning, which was a educational block. It was like children's educate. It wasn't cartoon. It was cartoons. It wasn't like Nick or Cartoon Network. It was like educational Saturday morning television while your parents are like watching the news or something.
So it kind of harkens back to like Legends of the Hidden Temple, because many of those, if you recall, are like based off of some type of lore related to history or an explorer. And so JD's talking to these kids about like
about
you are the new
mark on the timeline,
right? Like the explorers from before, you're going to make your mark. And so he brings them to the beach. We're set up. We see this large apparatus out in the water.
I mean, in the ocean, by the way.
In the ocean, and this is like the Pacific Ocean. We're not talking about
like
Bay.
Trigger anyone. One of my other interests is CrossFit and the CrossFit Games. Immediately thought of what happened last summer to Lazar Dukic.
Okay, that's a downer.
But like, I just like, and it makes me think too. Like, you hear so many horror stories on the challenge about how sketchy their production is. Like, it's not a secret. Everyone like knows that challenge production is generally like, pretty lax, and like they're filming in countries. Anyway, I was like, wow, they really did this in 2002 with kids.
Oh, and you watch this. I mean, if you watch reality competition today, they are in safety gear, and you can like sort of see it. There's not a life jacket. There's not a helmet to be seen, and it's kind of clear that they don't really get a good explanation of how this is going to go.
Okay, thank you for explaining that. Can you like explain the challenge?
Yeah. We've got this.
I've seen this challenge 57 times.
It's wild.
I still to this day like don't understand what happened.
So these kids are tethered. JD says we're going to do this. It's an elimination challenge. So everyone's going to have to hang as long as they can and have endurance or will or strength. There's always talk of like some sort of synonym that like is going to like carry us through the show.
Timeline is an insane challenge. Like, who thought of this?
Right. So these kids are going to, the boys are going to go first. And basically what they're going to do, they're going to
ask a quick question.
Yeah.
Would you rather be first or second to go? Like,
for this one, I don't think it matters. I don't think you learn anything.
Oh, I always think of like, this is so stupid. I always think of like, do I want to be nervous watching the girls or do I want to be relaxed?
I'm always like, what am I going to gain the most knowledge about? Because like, I always feel like when you watch some of the challenges.
This is when you want
challenges. Sure.
Because you want to see how they're set up out there.
Yeah. And like, you at least know like what strategies are they using. Anyway, it's not a real strategy for this. So Timeline, they are tethered at their ankles and suspended on this apparatus. Their hands are on rings, and they are going to hang till they fall. When they release, they are still hanging upside down with their heads kind of bobbing in the water.
They're getting waterboarded.
They are being waterboarded. There is a rope for them to pull, but I don't think any of them know.
Right, and JD has a post-production voiceover that says, when you fall, like, pull the rope to release yourself.
Well, none of these kids know.
And they probably added that in to make it seem like they didn't mean to waterboard Cree, Heather, and...
Yeah, so the boys start going, and they are already just, like, struggling out the gate because they're being hung out over the water. Literally.
Okay, so I have a question. To this day, if anyone from Endurance 1 is listening, just please let me know. Were you did you have to constantly be pulling? Like, is it actually requiring a ton of upper body pulling strength? Or do you just have to be able to relax, and was it more of a core thing?
Well, JD specifically says, and I quote, that, where did he say it? Oh, crap, I wrote it down.
No, you didn't. Okay, while Ben's doing that, I have my other quotes. There's one where Alejandro is really struggling, and JD says to the girls, Alejandro almost went again, and then one of the girls, it may have been Krieger, one of those, who goes, he does that though. Which this sounds like really funny.
Like, these people have known each other for like all of 3 hours.
And like JD's trying to like give commentary, not for the girls, like it's for us at home. And he's trying to give commentary, and she's like, but that's what he does. So like, it's okay.
Okay, so these 10 boys are hanging. JD says, it's all mind over matter. That's the whole game. I think all mind over body. That's the whole game. I think it's all body.
Okay, I want to know how hard it was to hold. Because if it was actually just a like relax and just like stay stable, then it is mind over body.
Okay.
But if it is a like basically doing a pull up for 10 minutes, then it's mind. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I want to know. I've been trying. This is good. We're getting into more details, but I've been trying to meet Janae for a while. There were multiple instances where I crossed paths with her. I went to the Challenge 40 premiere event in LA, and I met many challengers.
Mind you, she's going to be like 14 at this time. Do you think she really remembers this? I bet she does not.
Okay,
anyway.
No.
Okay, but we need to at least get to the...
I've never met Janae, even though I went to the Challenge 40 premiere event. I met everyone except for her. I met like Tori and Leroy from Ever 3. And then at night, I had to leave. I also had like a really bad... I had lost my voice, and Tina was like, why'd you lose your voice? I was like, I lost my voice. Anyway... My friends went to the night party that was hosted by Nehemiah and Bowie Jane. Can you just process that?
DJ Bowie Jane?
That Nehemiah and Bowie Jane co-hosted a party in LA together in August 2024. That's real facts. And my friends who met everyone. Janae, Naya, Desi, winner of Challenge USA 2. Like, they met everyone. And I met, like, just a little...
Yeah. Well, Janae, Jordan really wants to meet you.
And at that party... They were like so mean. They reenacted the Nia Avery fight scene in front of Nia. I was like, you can't do that. I would have asked Nia a lot of questions in a very like normal way, like in a way where I'm like, listen, this is just something that's like a lot of these things just like exist in my brain. Okay, more lore about me. I'm a CPA. It took me a very long time to figure that out. I have an issue where there's just a lot of stuff in my brain that's so stupid. Mm-hmm. Like mostly facts about a TV show like Endurance and others. I don't need that information.
Right.
I need to get it out. And by having a conversation with Janae, I think I would just like solve a lot of my...
Well, in the meantime, we're going to have the conversation with all of you. So we'll get it out.
It's actually going to be really good for
me.
So,
okay, so the boys have gone, and our first 3 eliminated are Shane, Ron, and Alejandro, which leads us to one of the most epic quotes from this entire game, which is, I came out here... Oh, where is it? No.
Ben.
Oh, I came out here to see what I could do, and I found out I have more growing to do.
Ironic, because he's the oldest.
Yeah. But he was like, I mean, it is a really mature comment.
He was the oldest. He was like 16. Also, like, I would not want to be hanging out with 12-year-olds when I was 16.
No. And I don't remember if it was Shane or Ron was like, did not want to be there. One of them clearly did not.
Ron had the Pippo.
Oh, right.
Okay, here also, I'm Endurance one I'm the least knowledgeable about, obviously, just because I just have watched it the least. I could not. Shane and Ron, I like completely forgot.
We don't need to know. They're only on screen for all of 4
I remember
minutes.
everyone else who lost every other right to say. For some reason, they just like completely slipped my mind.
Okay, so the boys go. The girls are watching all of this. JD's giving whatever commentary, and then the girls go.
And obviously, we're more excited for the girls. So, okay. Something that I've always remembered is the little clap game they do, which is along the lines of like, we're pumped, we're psyched, we're in it to win it, and then someone else goes, shut up. Until
it's 3 seconds in this entire show, and Jordan's like, I remembered it. Core memory. I need to lock that in.
20 plus years it's been in my brain. Yeah. So when I was rewatching, I was like, I know this is about to happen.
Okay, so the elimination starts. I think we're probably like about 4 minutes into this thing on the clock, and we lose Heather, and then Lacey, and then Cree.
Cree, what a name!
I know, and she. Heather gives us, I think, the best commentary.
Yeah, say it.
She says, the hardest part of the game was probably the holding on. Which
makes sense.
It is the hardest part because it's the entire game.
They seem like they're like metal rings. Like it's hard to hold on to. And then Creed, when she falls, she like...
Oh, it feels as though she was never really secured on there. She flies off. Whereas everyone else is still dangling and bobbing in the water. She goes right into the water, which makes me think that her feet weren't really connected.
Something was up with
and
her.
it also makes me think that perhaps she didn't let go, and that maybe she got released.
Was pushed, like
she was pushed.
Helen Kingfish.
Okay, no, but I mean, conspiracy theories abound, but like I kind of think like she wasn't secured.
Yeah.
So I do worry about that. Anyway,
when Lacey goes, she says, "Well, I wish I could have stayed on longer," which is also a quote that I use, and I didn't know it was from her. I actually thought it was probably from like a Brooke from Endurance 4. but I learned today that it was from her.
I love that we're getting testimonials from these people. I love that we're getting commentary from them, and it's like basic stuff like, oh, the hardest part was doing the puzzle, and it's a puzzle. Like clearly we are like. This is how reality TV is still being run, where it's like the simplest explanations, but just to give us context. Sure. And I kind of love that we're like seeing the early days of this playing out that way, where they're like, you have to say something, and the producers are like, say what the hardest part was.
Right. And they do. But I was going to say something. I'm really proud of us. We're only 30 minutes in. That's good. I thought this was going to take an hour and a half to get to this point, so we're moving and grooving.
No, that's great.
Okay. So we both said the same thing in our notes. It's not fair. Well, you preface it, and then I'll say my thoughts.
Well, I don't know what you were going to say.
Start with talking about the facts. When he talks about everyone's fun facts.
Okay, so we now have our 14 official 14 contestants. They are freezing on the beach.
Yes.
It is windblown, and they're all wrapped in towels, like trying to hold on for dear life. Yes. So now JD is saying,
hold on for dear life, girls. That's a quote from season 6.
Okay, so we now have our official cast for the season, and JD is giving them some information about what's going to come next. So congratulations, you're official contestants. But now tomorrow we're going to figure out the next steps of this game. We're going to find out your partners. And he doesn't give a whole lot more information, but he said the people on this beach are going to be important to you. And he said one of these people collected 300 snakes in 2 days. One of these people is a triplet. And one of these people is the number 4 surfer in the United States Surfing Association.
And Ben and I both wrote in our notes, he can't just like blow up their spots like that.
Honestly, because he never watched reality TV. He is saying
that's like production interference.
Exactly. Like, what if I'm like trying to hide the fact that I'm
a triplet?
A triplet, which is clearly an advantage you could have in this game.
But it is an advantage. As someone who, as an only child, I got sent away to sleepaway camp for 7 summers in a row by my parents because they're like, we're not going to let you be an only child. We're going to force you to share a space and be around people. And it was an adjustment. Like, granted, I was 9.
If you were a triplet, you would have done better at summer camp, is what you're saying?
Of course, because I'm used to having people around me all the time, and I'm used to like not having personal space or privacy. So it is, anyway, who cares?
I mean, I think the more impressive would be if I'm the number 4 surfer in the world, or the United States, like, maybe that person is a little bit more athletic and like...
That's so true. Obviously it's Christian.
And he's also 12 years old. And it's Christian because he looks like a surfer.
Okay, and also, this is another thing. Because I was watching this in real time, I was like 7, 8, 9, 10 watching this, and the world, this is like before social media, like the world felt very big to me. And I grew up in a like worldly place, like I was near New York, but I was still in a suburb, and I never traveled. My parents never traveled. So for me, the world felt really big, and to watch a TV show with kids from like California and like other places, like, I don't know, it just felt very like, wow, like, that's what people from California look like.
Yeah.
And then, like, Sabrina obviously was like, she is Houston. And now I know as someone who, like, has lived and has social media and, like, has traveled, like, she actually is. Like, she is Houston.
Yeah, she's Texas.
She's Texas. But, like, at 7, I was like, wow, like, that's crazy. Like, that's what people there look like. Like, I don't know. It was, like, very... I think that's what the show was going for by, like, putting this into the kids' household.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's it for season 1. I mean, episode 1.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. These episodes are about 22 minutes, and it's like, we're moving quick.
I was, like, shocked that we were already at the challenge when we were at the challenge. We kind of jumped over it, but they do have that little, like, getting to know each other segment.
Yeah, the kids are, like, running around, and they're saying, this is going to be my bunk. I don't even know if I'm staying.
And that, like, everyone already clocks Chelsea and Skylar as being on the outs. Whether or not that's deliberate is whatever. I think, and we'll get into this more throughout this, especially this season, this is, I think, probably the main season where it's such a point of the plot. I think every season it's relevant, but this is where it's so integral, is that they openly talk about flirting, crushing, dating. Like,
and we're hours into this. They were on a boat, they were on a beach, and now we're talking about, like, who's in relationships.
And also, like,
showmances.
Back to sleepaway camp, like, we were flirting and quote unquote, dating and, like, making out at, like, 12. I guess it's, like, weird for me because, one, I'm no longer that age, so everyone younger than me just feels really young. And two, I don't know, I feel like this is, like, I'm, like, shocked that this is, like, so openly discussed on, like, a kid's show. Does that make sense? And I think what we'll see in future seasons is that every season has this. We'll talk also about, like, who we've heard from the show since. And I remember listening to a podcast with Jenna, maybe, that, like,
season 1.
That, like, there are, like, of course people were, like,
doing things.
And also were, like, dating. You know what I mean? Like summer camp dating. Which makes sense. They were in summer camp. Like, they were there for, like, 2 to 3 weeks in summer camp. Okay.
Very limited.
I'm just surprised they're so highlighted in this way.
Yeah, especially because it's, like, daytime TV, but it is reality TV, and, like, you know, we're before Kid Country, but, like, we're, you know.
Kid Nation.
Sorry.
Okay.
So that's episode 1.
That was so fun.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to get to episode 2 on this episode. We're at 35 minutes, man. That's great. I had a fear that I'd spend 95 minutes just talking about,
that's what I'm here for, Jordan, because I know you could give, like, a TED Talk on this.
And please call me out on this, everyone. We have a lot of episodes to get through. I mean, I'll do some quick math. Like,
this is not Love Island, but
15 times 6 is...
I don't know how to do math.
15 times 6 is 90. I'm estimating there are about 90 episodes of this show, which means there's 45 podcasts if we do 2 per episode, plus bonus episodes. We have plenty of time to talk about.
But, like, don't let that scare you, because this is going to be fun. We're doing this together.
And we'll have off-topic episodes about current stuff. Okay.
For sure. So we've gone through the first episode. We now have our contestants. And now the big thing is we're selecting our partners. So JD shows up to the beginning of episode 2. We get the opening. We get the, like, background music, what have you. JD shows up, walks onto the beach. All the kids are gathered between the two cabins, and he's like, I'm usually not going to be here in the mornings, but I'm here this morning. And you're like, we don't even know that. So it doesn't matter.
And as someone who knows that, he is there every other morning.
Yeah.
You're either doing someone's...
Sure.
Well, this season, does it have peace exchanges this season? Maybe
not.
Maybe I'm wrong about this season. I mean, in every other future season, he comes to them every other morning to give away the
we see him a lot. Pieces. So it's just funny that he, like, has to preface this. We get to the beach, all the kids are gathered. He's asking everybody how they slept. They all basically said, we were freezing.
It probably was like 40.
It was like, not warm. These cabins are, like, just open.
Yeah, they're open air.
Open air, and they are, like...
Also, like, they swim in the water in this episode. That water is, like, freezing. Like, every beach in that part of California is
And it's just covered in rocks, and they're playing football and, like, falling.
Ow. Well, they're probably wearing shoes.
They are wearing shoes, but they're still, like, falling in. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So JD basically is saying, okay, well, we're going to be getting our partners today.
Yeah.
But you need to learn about all these contestants, because
someone else is picking your
team. Else is going to be picking your team, so you need to start figuring out who you want.
Right.
And start making deals.
Right. And it's a good sequence. I mean, we can run through it. Basically, everyone is talking over each other about who they want as a partner. JD goes around the circle before that, JD goes around the circle. A lesson that we learn in future seasons is just, like, always be honest about who you want.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt to do that.
Which is shocking, because these people have never been through this situation, and they don't have people to, like, they've not watched TV shows where this is taking place, but these are, like, kids who are used to picking teams, and they are blunt. They're honest.
Okay, I think, though, some are, like, overthinking it. Like, Jenna, if you're watching, we support you.
We support you.
And correct us if you were not going for this, but she basically gives JD a very, like, loose answer and was like, Trevor, because he's from Chicago.
Yeah, we got the Chicago thing.
Yeah. Well, Trevor kind of, like, makes her say that. Anyway, that's that. They go into the hut. They're all yelling at each other. Here comes what I consider, from this season, probably one of the top, like, fourth.
Well, because they're going around and they're saying who they prefer.
And then someone suggests, say who you don't want. And they're like, no, we're not going to do that. I think it was Max. And I have my notes. Max is an antagonist. I'm a big Max fan. I think we'll get to this, I think he's extremely articulate for his age, and, like, really is aware that he's on TV, and we see this again in season 2. But what comes out of this sequence is what I think this is probably my favorite flow of events for the entire season.
So, somebody has to step up. Someone has to take some leadership. We need to have some leadership here because they are all fighting for the same people.
Well,
basically everybody wanted Sabrina and Ashley. And they were like, well, not all of them got Sabrina and Ashley.
Someone went off by themselves and said, and I quote.
And it's a queen.
And I quote.
Because send a woman.
And I quote. Because, sorry. Partner Sex was going horrible, and I mean horrible. So I went off by myself, no one followed me, and I made the list. Take a look. And the sacred list of who's with who.
The Chiron says the list. It says Janae
and
the list.
What I have to give production credit for is that they let Janae have her time.
For sure.
They did not, and this I have to commend production in general, they let the kids make the story.
Yeah.
We don't even get that with Survivor these days.
No, not at all.
We don't even get that with, I could talk about how much I hate Drag Race, and how I think it's overproduced, and I think that there was 7 good seasons in a row, and then it completely dove off because the production of Drag Race has an idea of the show they want, and they cannot get away from that. Right. Same with Survivor to an extent. Definitely for the Big Brother produced show. If you're not watching the feeds, for this they're
just letting it.
They're letting it play
and they're
out.
just seeing what's going to happen.
And it's such a hello. Hello, this is how it should be on every show. Clearly, I mean, you gotta cast the right people, but if you're casting the right people, they will make the show for you. You don't have to, force it. So anyway, Dani makes a list. She gets Sabrina and Ashley's buy-in, which is clearly the most important.
I mean, they're the queen bees of this season, for sure.
You can already tell they're the queen bees.
They're 2 blondes, they look pretty similar, and they're
I love them. I love Sabrina's hair.
Well, Johnny takes the leadership. She's going around to everybody.
This is the era of, also something I get so stuck on, and this is more complaining about Jeff Probst, how he says there's no more villains on Survivor. There are just people you like and dislike. I said, no, there are villains, and it's Sabrina Lloyd. I mean, she is an original. If you're talking early 2000s, there's Richard Hatch, there's Omarosa, there's Dr. Will, and there's Sabrina. I mean, literally, put her in the upper echelon of people who showed up on an island with a mission, and
she had a game
they
plan.
were unapologetic.
She had a game plan, and she was going to see it through.
So confident and just so she knew the character she was playing, and she did not let up the entire time she was there, and I have to commend her for that.
Okay, so the list is now out, and basically everyone is commended to memory, as they are going to go to whatever competition or process is going to be for selecting. They don't know.
Yeah.
But they have this list, and everyone's like, well, I don't know if people are going to stick to the list.
Right.
Well, JD then brings everybody together. We are at our next challenge.
Right.
And it is called Free Ball or something.
I didn't write it down. I know the episode is called Partner Game.
Anyway, so there's another contraption. This one is on the beach, and it's basically
it's
a rubber band drop, spelunk.
Like a rubber band like a Plinko.
Yeah, and it's
band.
Rubber balls
playground at the top. Balls of different colors zigzag their way down.
Yeah, so everyone gets together, and he explains that they are going to drop one ball at a time, whichever color it is. Let's say it's yellow, which is the first one that goes.
Yeah.
And whoever catches it has power, because they are going to be able to select who is going to be the yellow team. Yeah. Which is huge.
Huge.
But then that person then gets back into the group, and is going to have to rely on others to make sure that they are going to get there.
So you're hoping that the goodwill you give to others is given back to you. Can I ask?
Sure.
What are the colors?
I mean, for me, it doesn't mean a damn thing. But I do know, Jordan, for you,
these colors
mean a lot.
I mean, people feel this way. I never really watched Hidden Temple because I didn't have Nick Gass on my TV.
But it is the green iguanas and the blue.
And people feel very strong about that. Something that always bothered me. Sorry, this is so off topic. I didn't have cable. I had DirecTV because my dad liked sports, so we had to get DirecTV. Yeah. And DirecTV didn't have Nick Gass. And my friends who all had the normal Cablevision package got Nick Gass. And that is why Hidden Temple was just not a big part of my childhood. Oh. And obviously it would have been if I was there. Obviously I would have loved it. Anyway. So for me, I think of a specific team with each color from all 6 seasons, and that's what that color means to me.
Right.
So yellow is Monroe and Brianna.
Yep.
That is it.
And this is one of those things that throughout the series you'll see is that the colors, they refer to them as the team colors over and over again. People want to be a certain color.
We will talk about it next episode, but next episode, I guess. But I mean, this is the start of the gray,
right?
And to me, Gray is always going to be Gray, but Gray is also Chris and Lindy, who were extremely dominant throughout the entire season.
Yeah, some of these, no, but some of these colors do have. Orange, they seem to have taken on power.
Orange is always a problem. Always. I'm trying to think of a season where orange was not a problem for whoever team it was. Literally, I cannot think. I mean, you can say that Caleb and Lauren were a good team, but they still do
issues.
And so that's orange. I'm going through the colors in my head.
Okay.
It's like, and we'll get into this too, like about how this is not a spoiler, but it is a spoiler, that every color was present at the final tribal
at a different point
through the seasons. Okay.
He's doing some math here.
You continue talking while...
Okay, so the yellow ball falls, and Janae gets it first. So she is up. This is the queen who wrote the list. Right. So she's going to stick to the list.
And production makes sure we're following along with the list.
So they are posting it. As she announces Sabrina and... Right?
No, Sabrina.
Sabrina and John. They show the list, like the handwritten list in the Chiron. So, like, we are following along, and there's a green check that goes over it.
Yes.
Like, just little details that are, like, bringing us back and really centering around these kids.
And this isn't clear. The partnering is my favorite episode of the season, every season. And every season there's drama. Obviously, it's just, like, an innate part of it. But the show leans into it.
Right. Yeah, JD was aware of the list. He's talking about it.
I'm thinking specifically seasons 3 and 4, which 3 is the best one. And 4 is up there. The show, like, edits around it so well. And this is another good example of, like, they are, like, basically walking you, the viewer, they're editing. Okay, as now an adult with a job, I could not imagine making a product design for kids. That just is not something my brain computes. The people editing this, which is not an easy job, editing is really hard. Like, they're editing this for kids. Yeah. And they need to walk the viewer to a point of, like, you understand of like what's going to happen and why, and they do it so well for kids. Like,
because there's a lot of these shows that are like overly complicated for no damn reason, and this is one of those where like they're holding your hand a bit, but it's not to the point where you can't follow.
But they're like right, and they're really giving things their due, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, so we now have our first team. It's the yellow team. They take their place. And the rest of the kids have been going.
Okay, so now that I'm done with my math, every color, including brown and gray, are in exactly one final temple between seasons 1 and 4.
Oh yeah, that's the one thing we forgot to explain, is that there is a process by which people are going to be eliminated. And they reference it in the first episode that this Temple of Fate. So like that's the one place
it's like ominous in the distance.
Yeah, but we can see it. It's physically there. So we're now getting our teams.
So Johnny picks yellow. She's freezing. She's like separating. Okay. So every time, this is my notes, playground balls made me think of this challenge.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's true because it's just like rubber balls.
And you hear the playground.
Okay. So second team gets selected.
Ashley puts Johnny with Aaron, which is what you wanted.
Right. And that is on the list. So green check.
Yeah. Okay. And now here's the other, I'm talking, when I say like the most iconic sequence in this season, I'm considering from the list to the end of this episode.
Yeah.
And here is another iconic moment.
So the kids are being lined up along the same line, and the person who has the ball is basically standing in front of this line of colors. So behind them are the teams that have already been organized.
Correct. Okay. So now Layla gets the
ball.
Red ball.
Layla
goes over to JD to reveal her choices. And Sabrina.
There's like a big pause here too.
Also, okay, we have to set. As much as I've been complimentary of the casting, there is such a divide in. I don't want to say confidence, because Layla does come across confident in her confessionals, and we see in a conversation with Janae in the next few episodes, like she can hold her own. But the like Layla Chelsea side of the show versus the Sabrina Ashley. Lana sometimes, Johnny sometimes, Jenna is, I think, a friend to everyone. Like, they are clearly...
There definitely seems to be a popular, not as popular crowd.
We're not trying to be mean to anyone.
No.
There's enough... Kids. Also, we'll talk about, like, the microaggressions on the show, but...
For sure.
But we're not going to cause any. We're not going to try to cause any. No. If we do, we're very sorry. Yes. Sabrina is like, I am going to fuck up this girl if I can. And what does she do?
Pressures her.
She goes,
She's standing right behind her in the camera, so basically she's like over her shoulder.
JD says, "What guy do you want to pick?" And she goes, "Christian." And then Layla goes, "Christian."
Christian.
And then JD says, "What girl are you going to put Christian with?" And let's put ourselves in Layla's shoes. Her friends are Chelsea. I think she's like friendly-ish with Jonna, maybe. Yeah. I think she's friendly-ish with Jenna, maybe. But if I was Layla, you want to put your best friend Chelsea with someone she wants to be with to make sure your friends have a strong team. And obviously Sabrina was not going to let that happen.
No.
And I don't think Sabrina and Layla said 2 words to each other before this moment. Also, they were like, before this, we kind of brushed over this too. Chelsea got like a lot of grief in the first episode.
For sure.
There was like 3 different professionals talking about how she like doesn't talk to anyone.
Yeah.
And then the girls, they were all playing football. They're like, "Chelsea, why aren't you playing football?" She's like, "I don't want to play football." She's like, "I'm making rock people." And then they make rock people with her, which
I find
they're taunting her.
Well,
I think they're.
yeah. I mean, I think people are trying to find connections, but these are teens. Like, they're not going to be the nicest.
Also, Sabrina is the hottest, coolest girl in Houston. And she's coming to this island with, like, no offense, like, everyone's kind of, a lot of them are kind of weird. So she's like, well, fuck this. I was also like, I think Heather, Lacey, and Cree were all cool. But we never got to see that. So it's like, I think Sabrina's like, I'm the coolest one here. I'm going to use that. So anyway, this is a moment that I continue, like, this is so relevant to my life. So now, this is incredible editing.
So Layla is standing with JD. We have already selected our male.
Kristen.
And now we need...
And the list says that it should be Ashley.
And the list is up.
The list is up.
On the Chiron.
And you see Sabrina behind Layla going, "Ashley, do it." And then the camera zooms in. Do it. And then it cuts to commercial. It is so good. Okay, now we're back to the commercial. And
they replay the entire thing.
They replay the entire thing. We're back to where it started. Layla is just like silent. And it goes, and Sabrina's in the background, "Ashley, do it." And then Layla goes, "Ashley," and Sabrina goes, "Yes!"
Yes!
And this is relevant to me because when I was in college, and we were rewatching Endurance, I think probably 7 times a semester. We just rewatch it when there wasn't. We were watching Battle of the X's 2 and Endurance at the same time. And we were so obsessed with this that when we would pregame and we were taking shots, we would go, "Do it, do it, do it." And then we go, "Yes."
Yes.
So that's so relevant. And this is such, and Sabrina and Ashley are so happy. Like, you feel like and Kristen's like "Ooh," like, yeah, that was it. And then things get bad with Green.
Yeah, I mean, we are continuing to do our selections.
Green to me will always...
We're sticking to the list.
Green will always be Isaac and Jesse to me.
Okay. Great. I don't remember what those are. We'll get to it. I'll rewatch it. So now we're continuing down the list. We're now up and we're on
Green. And Max catches the ball.
Max catches the ball. And we've already talked about he's a little bit of a shit stirrer.
Yes. And we already know that he's a bit of an antagonist.
Yeah.
And we definitely know that he's from LA, which is an important note I made today. Because I think that all the other times I watched it, I didn't really tie places to people. I just thought about the places in general. And now I am remembering where they're from. He's very much a 15-year-old, 14-year-old in LA.
So he gets up and he's holding the ball, and JD asks, "Okay, which girl?" I think he was doing.
They start with boy.
Boy, and he picks.
No, yeah, he picks Trevor. Yeah, and Trevor points to Lana, and he gives him Lana, which is not the list.
That's not the list, and so they put a giant X over the list.
And this is the beginning of the end of Lana. I mean,
she's mad.
Remember Katura from Survivor 45?
No.
Remember how she hated Bruce?
No.
That was her entire storyline. I blame the editors for not. There had to have been more, but they only paint her as this very one. She gets some more in the end, but for the first 2/3 of the season, she's painted as this very one note in this very one-sided conflict, and that's what I think Lana got in the edit, and that's a shame because I listened to a Lana podcast in 2020, and she had a lot to say. I really liked her. I was always a constant Lana fan. Yeah. And this is she does not want to be with Trevor.
Okay, well, it's going to happen. The list is now broken, so now we just have to keep going.
Because Lana was supposed to be with Brandon, and Trevor was supposed to be with Chelsea,
right?
And now everything's...
So next up, I believe Jenna gets the ball. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and it's purple.
And it's like one of these things where it's like, okay, well, it doesn't matter now because the list isn't the list.
Which, like,
it still could have.
It still could have.
Right. But you can tell, like, she's going to be with Max, so she basically sets it up that. They're like.
She puts Brandon and Layla together. Yeah. We're not going to comment on why.
Yes.
And then the last ball is orange. And this is something that's only unique to season 1, is that they just, like, have to get all the pieces in play.
Which is funny because they're going to collect them over time regardless. We'll get into that
in future seasons. It's a lot more spread out over the season.
But JD basically says whoever is the last to catch the ball, not only do they get to get 2 pieces towards the final thing, but they're also going to select the final 2 teams. The final 2 teams make sense.
Yeah.
But, like,
Max wanted Jenna, and then whoever's got Chelsea left.
Why? It made no real sense. It doesn't really contribute to the game. These pieces are going to get distributed anyway once we start to get to the teams.
But also, it's basically the equivalent of winning an endurance mission. We'll get to what an endurance mission is. You win a piece. But winning this first mission is equivalent to winning an endurance mission because you get your normal piece and you get an extra piece. Future seasons, they give a lot more... the next 2 seasons are very, you can say there's a winner in season 3, but it's not really until season 4 where there's, a clear one person won. I mean, the next season 3, there is one winner and he gets to choose his team. But anyway, season 4 is the next season where there's, one distinct winner, and their advantage is a lot of power in picking teams, but then the pieces, everyone starts with 1, you win a piece in an endurance mission, you get a piece bequeathed to you otherwise.
So now we now have all of our teams.
And I love when they do all the teams in their colors. Yeah. And I love all their little,
JD brings them all in, and they're like, you're now in your endurance shirts. And they are in there, the logo is on there.
And this is important. If I was ever on the show, you have to be on in this moment because they'll reuse that clip of you. The one I've done where she's they reuse that the entire season when they're talking about, even when they get to,
as good as the editing is, they have very limited footage. Of course. So they're going to have to keep running with it.
And something we'll get to over time. I don't know if we're going to get to now, or because I'm going to want to go talk about it, but these are kids. They are under the same restrictions that child actors are under, and that includes parental supervision and very limited working hours. Ben and I...
But no safety equipment. That's the one thing.
Literally. Ben and I are very up to speed on, the Dan Snyder universe.
Sure.
And a bit...
If you haven't watched the documentary, you should watch the documentary.
Which one, though? Are you talking about the guy who watched
was that guy Jordan?
There's a 40-hour YouTube documentary that goes through every single show. If you're talking about that one.
No.
Okay. That's the one I watched. And something that's really interesting I learned is when they're under 18, there's a ton of rules and restrictions, which there should be. But then the day they turn 18, they're all gone. So, for Victorious, when they all started, they were 16, 17.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, they were all 18, and they could film much longer schedules. And then when Sam and Cat came along, which was a disaster, and everyone was miserable at that set, and also Ari could only film on certain days and times because she was already getting famous, just filming Break Free while she was trying to film Sam and Cat.
You mean Ariana Grande?
Yes.
Thank you.
And they kept all the over 18 actors on an adult schedule, and then the kids would pop in only when they could. Anyway, for this to say, Endurance is under the very strict rules. You can only film for a certain amount of hours a day, and then you can only film for a certain amount of days in a row. So they only had limited footage, and they were living there full time, but there was so much, and I learned this from, we'll get into this, there was a really, really good reunion podcast during COVID. Jenna was there, Lana was there, Mike and Keaton were there, Monroe was there, Celie was there, Hannah and Leslie were there, so many people came back for it. And I think maybe it was Jenna talking about it because she's been on the most seasons of we're there all day, but the cameras are off for a lot of it. Yeah. And we're encouraged to not talk about game implications, but they still have to live there, but they can't film. They just physically are not allowed to film at a certain time. So there's just such limited footage is what I'm getting at.
Well, we've got our teams. They're now set up. And JD is now talking about okay, well, now that we have our teams, we're going to give you your pieces. And they go through and they select their pieces. Again, these are just synonyms. Strength, courage, will, commitment. And they don't really mean anything, but
they do.
They give so much meaning to them.
No, but they do. Also, no one ever wants knowledge. That's the worst piece. And we'll get to why ingenuity and teamwork, I think, are the 2 best pieces of the future season.
They seem to be really important. They're as important as the colors.
They're as important as the colors. They have a vibe. I always will...
It does set the stage for what the show is, because JD is forever having to say, are you going to have the will and the determination?
Well, also, I'm always a believer in, like, causative stuff.
Yeah.
Like, for example, season 4, Daniela gets the perseverance piece. She had to persevere. Like, she was going through it, especially in the beginning. And she persevered, and I'm not going to spoil anything. She was very well. And I really think, like, especially if you're struggling, the piece can sort of reflect your experiences. And also, in this season and future seasons, the pieces lightly mirror what the challenge is about.
Yeah, they do kind of assign a
like, there was a challenge that was pure strength in season 5, and you get the strength piece. So, like...
But it's not just the pieces that we're getting distributed. We're also going to give out the potential final prize, which, again, I think this is part of this, like, this is a children's show, so they're probably not giving them cash prizes the same way.
Okay, meanwhile, Moolah Beach, the precursor, was for a cash prize, and Karma, the successor, was for a cash prize. But that's the sense.
I'm just saying, like, it's clear that this is not those shows, and they are determined to make this about an experience, about
education.
Yes,
and so the trips are good.
So so they basically said, if you are the winner of this, not only are you going to have all these pieces to be able to be the winner, but you're going to be able to go on this journey
that you choose.
But you're having to pick this journey right now. One of the teams is very upset because they're going to have to go on a trip with their teammate who they did not want to be with.
Lana does not want to even go on that trip with Trevor.
Exactly. So
wait, I was thinking about this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking of, like, future winners. I guess they all want to go on the trip with their other person. But there could have been a few winners that, like, really did not want to deal with that.
No.
Especially if their families come.
Right.
Did you ever watch the Galapagos special?
No.
Okay, after season 3 was one of the more robust seasons in terms of there was a casting special.
Yeah.
And there was a post-season special. And they follow the winning team to the Galapagos and film their experience there.
Wait, I do kind of remember this.
See, that's what I'm saying. Okay, everyone, listen. We're almost done. What I'm saying about this show and why it's important and why there needs to be a podcast about it is because you have these memories. Yeah. Like, I'm telling you, they are, like, in the back of your brain. Just, like, think a little bit. They're going to pop up and you're like, fuck, I do remember this.
Yeah, so they are now, JD's like, okay, this team, I don't even know what order they do it in.
They do it in the order they were chosen.
So it starts with yellow. So yellow team gets up and they're like, which of the trips do you want? And they pick Belize.
Which is, like, next to Texas.
Right.
Literally. You could drive.
You could, I mean, sure. But, like, they picked Belize over Australia. They picked Belize over the Galapagos Islands.
Also,
an African safari.
By the way, when I was 14, I did not know what Bali was.
I don't think any of these people knew where most of these places were.
And I did not know what the Galapagos was until I took, like,
it just did not seem like the best. It seemed like probably the trip I would have picked last, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. Whatever.
No offense to Belize. It's lovely. I've been there.
Ben has been there. I remember that. The capital is?
Belize City.
No. Belmopan.
Excuse me?
Yeah, you know that?
I'm pretty sure it's
Belize. No, look it up. I'm looking it up right now.
Okay. We're going to edit that out.
Only if I am wrong, which I'm not.
I don't think you're correct. Dead air.
Told you.
What?
Period. I love my capitals. You know the show The Floor that's, like, going really viral on TikTok and stuff? And they use the sound. It's like they have to name the pastries. And they have to name the sound.
People are really excited.
I've never seen an episode of the show, but I've seen, like, so much of it on TikTok. Sure. And they have to name, like, airport code. And then I love when the person, like, completely goes silent. Yeah. And then anyway, there was one on capitals, and it was so easy. Oh my god, I would have absolutely read The Floor.
Well, you know the one for Belize, so congratulations.
I think we're done with episodes 1 and 2.
Yeah, so we've now got our things, and then they kind of give us a preview for the.
Oh my god, like just over an hour. I'm so proud of us.
We got to cut some stuff out.
No. It's the first one. Okay, I watched episodes 1 through 4 today. There's far less to talk about as we go there. Like,
sure.
like
so I just appreciate you guys sticking with us through this. This is us just sort of trying this out. We've got a lot of content to get through. We have a lot to say. But this is just a little bit of flavor because we are exploring reality competition through the lens of these kids trying out, like, crazy challenges.
We're going to get into, like, one of the biggest rigs of the entire series in the next episode.
Like physical rigs? Like rigging of the show?
No, sorry. The rigging of the show comes in season 6. Let's not talk about it. It still haunts me to this day. Talk about it when we get there in literally 40 million episodes. No, the thing they use to, like, hang the people over the edge is, like, these are, like, I have in my notes, who built this?
I know.
Who built this in the middle of the Pacific Ocean? First of all,
Correct.
It's not easy to build in the Pacific Ocean. It's freezing. These are like massive steel structures.
Right. We're in Catalina Island. We're not like
and also
in a bay.
And in future seasons, they're in much like easier places. Like they are in a bay the next season. They're in the mountains for a lot of seasons. Like it's on flat land. But this is like, these are really intense structures, and they turn them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm like thinking through the episodes.
I mean, Survivor bought an entire island to do this, so
exactly,
it's crazy.
This is fun. We'll see you soon.
So much.
Let's do socials.
Oh yeah.
Okay, you can find me at Jord Grant, JORD.GRANT on Instagram. My Twitters are not for you. But
our Twitter is for you.
But our Twitter is for you. It's at EndurancePod1.
The number 1.
Which is the same as our email at gmail.com. If you have any thoughts or feedback, or would you like to be a guest? Oh my God, we're always looking for guests.
Yeah, please send us your comments, questions you have, memories you have.
Memories. Yes. And then lastly, I just made an Instagram that has no post yet that we will be posting. And I know what I want to do, and this is going to take a little bit of effort. Sure. It's also at EndurancePod1 on Instagram. There's so many clips. I've been trying to clip as I go, but it's hard to like watch and take notes and clip. And I'm watching in 1.5 speed. Like there's a lot going on. We'll get better at that.
Well, thanks so much.
What's your social?
Oh, my social. You can follow me on Instagram at BJ Rosenbaum. That's the letters B, letter J, and my last name Rosenbaum. Perfect. And I hope to see you there, and to see you on our next episode.
I hope to see you there.
Bye. Ciao.